Welcome to U Version 2 podcast with me, your host, Brendan McCauley. And today we have a special guest, Julie Halpert. Julie, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you get up to during the day?
Sure. I'm a freelance journalist. I write for many national news outlets like the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. For the Wall Street Journal, I write a column called Second Acts, which is about people who've switched to interesting careers in retirement to pursue their passions. I've been doing this for over 30 years, and I've probably written for about 50 different types of publications. If you just go to juliehalpert.com, you can see them. I also teach a journalism class at the teach a journalism class at the University of Michigan, an environmental journalism class. And I'm based in Michigan, obviously, because I teach there. And yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
I love that idea. That's that point about people, what did you say, changing career in their retirement or in their later years, chasing or to fulfill their purpose or to chase their passion. That's an interesting one, because a lot of us go through that process of work. And then suddenly, oh, what, I'm meant to retire. What do I do now? And all of a sudden, oh, maybe I'll try and do some of those things that I really wanted to do all those years. So it's what have you seen from that? Is there any sort of reoccurring pattern where people go, maybe they've thought maybe I should have done something before, or I'm not putting words in your mouth.
Well, it's I've written dozens of these stories, and each one is a little bit different. The one thing that we like to focus on with these second acts, which my editors like to focus on, is people who've done something entirely different. And by the way, it doesn't need to be a career. It could be like somebody became a professional ice skater in retirement, in her 70s, and she was a physician. It's people who've just made major pivots. If there's one theme, it's people who feel like they've really wanted to do something different, and they wanted to make a difference. They wanted to help other people. They wanted to feel like they were fulfilling their purpose. And those who were able to get satisfaction out of that second act, they feel like it's allowed them to feel healthier, and they think it's going to help them live longer too, because especially those many of the people are leaving very high stress, time consuming jobs. Yeah. And, again, another physician, she became a florist, but a florist who worked part-time, and it was on her terms, right? So she wanted to create beautiful things in retirement. She worked insane hours. Exactly. And then, we do profile some business owners, but business owners who are doing something for a purpose. Like one person was in like real estate development, and then his son was autistic, and he wanted to have a place where his son could work. So he bought this shop, and he opened a chocolate shop and he employed workers who were disabled and products that were made by people who are disabled. So it had this bigger purpose. He liked being a business owner. He loved chocolate.
But that's a good combination.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's fantastic. Yeah, so they go off and do something completely different to what they were doing, but obviously there's skills within there that they can bring to it. And I suppose having that purpose after the day job, because sometimes we have work to do, or we have things to do, that gives us purpose to get up in the morning. And we hear a lot of the time the classic discussion of, oh, such and such, they retired and then they died a few years later. Right. So that fulfilling or having that purpose drives us and maintains our attitude and our approach to life, and our youngness, our youthness, I suppose, the youthfulness in that desire. So that's fantastic to hear.
I'm inspired by these people. I mean, I just, there was another woman who was a career counselor, or she was in career placement at Harvard, I think, or a university, and she became a doula. She was a person of color and was worried about the mortality rate, the infant and mother mortality rate, and wanted to address that. And so a lot of these stories are quite inspiring. They're just people doing really interesting things and following their passion.
And that's something that I've realized over the years. We all do have a story to share. We all do, and when we actually share them and to talk about them, they're very interesting. Like I mentioned earlier, I joined Toastmasters, and when everyone's joined Toastmasters, your first speech is your icebreaker, where the person introduces themselves, and that's sort of you learn about them. But yeah, everyone does have a story to share, and we can all we should all share our stories, and we should all listen, and we should all learn together, because it's going to help us one way or another. So that's a fantastic introduction, Julie. Thank you very much for that.
Sure.
Now, as I said earlier, our concept of this conversation, and we can go down any path that suits, but it's really to talk about, in a general view, happiness for ourselves, happiness for others. But, you know, to sort of kick that off, could I ask you what happiness means to you?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I realized that you asked your guest that question. I guess what happiness means to me is being with people who I love and who love me, you know, being among my family and my really close friends. Um, and also being able to be in the moment. I noticed one of your other guests talked about not, you know, worrying about what happened before or what's likely to come. And I have a tendency to ruminate and worry about what happened just recently and what could happen. And I find that when I'm really in the present moment and I can just you know, enjoy the people around me and enjoy us being together, that allows me to be happy. That really is happiness to me, when I can be present and I'm with people I really care about.
Yeah, the present, being present in the now, really is something that is so important. And I learned that myself, and I read the book, Eckhart Tolle. I forget I'll check it in a minute, but the book, and it was just all about being present in the now. And, you know, like if I recently went on a holiday to Morocco, as I said, with my family, it's like not thinking about what I need to do when I come back, or all those busy things I have to do in the future. It's just, no, I'm here on holiday with my family. Just enjoy the time, enjoy the meal, enjoy the thing we're doing, because that's what brings us the pleasure. It was on holiday to be with my
Sure.
family. So
Right.
it is key to enjoy the now moment. I'm no expert. I'm learning as I go in life, but that's certainly something I would certainly agree with. Being happy in
Yeah.
the moment. And would you say that, in your experience of happiness, when was the last time you were really, really happy? Something that.
Well, I guess I would say last night I was really happy. My daughter is a musician and she just had her first album produced, and she is lives in a different state, but she came to have a concert in our town. And it was incredibly an outdoor concert. There were probably 70 people there, and people were just so joyous and enjoying her music and dancing. And, you know, this has been a dream of hers to pursue
Yeah.
music as a career. And in that moment, I could see that I think this is going to happen for her. And she was so happy, and she was with friends who were singing with her. It was happy. And I remember just thinking, I mean, when I was reflecting on this, I thought that that was a moment for me and for my husband of course we're proud of her, but we're so happy. I mean, for
Yeah,
me, if my kids are happy, I'm happy. My
yeah,
happiness is so
yeah.
tied to theirs. If they're unhappy, I'm unhappy.
I would
So
say, in my case, happy wife, happy life.
yes, yes,
Happy
right.
kids, happy
That
mom.
too. That too. If my husband's unhappy, I'm unhappy too. So yeah.
But that you touched on, that's a fantastic story, about the music. I'm passionate about music myself. I play the drums in a covers band here at the minute,
Oh
and
wow, that's so cool.
I've DJ'd in the past and stuff like that. But when I was younger and going to nightclubs or whatever, I was just loved music. I would have worn a T-shirt that said "Music is lifeblood." You know, just with the music, it gives the passion and joy. And that's amazing that she's done an album. What type of music, or what?
So it's really Jewish kind of spiritual music. Some of it, and
Mhm.
it's music intended to inspire change and political activism. It's Allie Halpert is her name, so I
Mhm.
can share later her the link to her music. But yeah, it's just
Absolutely.
kind of like it's intended to heal and make people feel better. So
Brilliant. Yeah,
uplifting, that
because
kind of thing.
music, it can be all that. There's so many range of emotions within music, and it can be healing, and it can be soothing, and it can be aggression, and, you know, it builds up emotions within it. That's fantastic to hear, and I wish her all the best. And
Thank you.
that I certainly, in my younger years, would have loved to have been, you know, the next U2 or the next rock star. And my father said, "Listen, son, maybe try university first." No,
Yeah,
no,
right.
I want to be a rock star.
Yes, yes, yeah,
Maybe I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know which decision I made was right, whether I went to university or should have tried to be a rock star. But anyway, it all worked out fine.
Yeah, well, it's great if you can follow your passion, but sometimes you can follow your passion on the side, and have your
Yeah,
day job.
that's
So,
it. So in relation to happiness, you mentioned that happiness experience was even as recent as yesterday. In our happiness, or that state of happiness, would you say that it can fade away with time, or it can be maintained, or
yeah,
what would you
I think that I think happiness for me depends so much on how healthy I feel physically and mentally, and how healthy my loved ones are. And I noticed even with my mother, she's getting to be quite old, and a lot of her friends are passing away. I think that you can have a wonderful, happy life, but that if people close to you are dying, or you've got some kind of a health problem, I think that that can quickly fade away. That could,
yeah.
that can cause you to do a real U-turn, or be a really sharp fork in the road.
It can
So,
focus our attention for sure.
mhm.
The health is our wealth, and sometimes you mentioned about feeling well or eating well and all these things, and sometimes healthy eating and fitness and well-being actually then all those things combined create to being in a healthy state, and that in itself we can be happy about that, because obviously if we're feeling ill, all of a sudden our focus is on that pain, or that's something that's afflicting us. Like I said, I had a bit of a cold last week. You can feel very sorry for yourself and say, oh, but
Right,
life goes on. Take a Lemsip or take something to help it, and
right.
stop
Yeah.
licking your own
Well,
wound.
the other thing I would say is that if you experience a profound loss, then that happiness is forever changed. Like, I
Yeah, yeah.
lost a son, and I say I was happy yesterday, but what was the last time I was truly happy? It was when we are all five, my two daughters and my son and my husband and I were on vacation together, and that was in
Mm.
2016. That was a long time ago. But
Mhm, mhm.
you find ways to continue living, but your happiness it's a totally different definition of happiness than
Yeah,
you
yeah,
once
yeah,
had.
yeah. And that's real, and that affects then how we feel about that. I'm sorry for your loss,
Thank
Julie, in
you.
that situation. Um, the many happy thoughts, no doubt, exist as a result of it.
Hmm.
The the present life, and the things, all the good things that you're doing, and the experiences you've had and led up to, and you're training new people in the skills of journalism, and that in itself is a creative process and leads to many things. Would you, in the sense of who am I, who's Julie, would you describe yourself if you say I am? If you were to start a sentence, how would you describe
Sure.
yourself?
So I would say I am a wife and a mother, and I am a journalist and a journalist educator. I also started a nonprofit, suicide prevention nonprofit with my husband. So I would say I'm the co-founder of a nonprofit. Um, yeah, I would say those are the main. And then I would say that I am a daughter and a sister as well, and a friend, and hopefully a good friend. So,
Yeah, yeah, very, very good. I certainly noticed the change in who I am over the years. If someone had asked me that question, I'd be saying, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'm a project director in this construction firm, and I do X, Y, and Z." It's like, okay, and the person probably going, "Well, do you actually do anything else other than work?
right,
what
right.
what
Yeah,
do you like to do? What do you change the sort of the conversation?" But that's how found that's how we were not conditioned to introduce ourselves, or to define ourselves by what we do a lot of the time.
sure.
But
Absolutely.
I love the point you mentioned there in relation to the nonprofit thing with suicide prevention and things like that. And quite a lot recently, I don't know whether it's maybe post-COVID or during COVID, a lot of young people, and I've heard more sad stories about cases of suicide or depression, and also adults, of course. But uh, someone here, a friend in here, son they knew, and then it was someone back, a work colleague back in Ireland. Someone they knew, something happened, and I was actually just asking my wife today, because she was talking to someone, and someone said that such and such was depressed, or the kids were depressed, and I was thinking, Yeah, it is. It's been a very tough time for everybody.
Sure.
But how, I just said, how do we help those people? And
Right.
it's not an easy thing to do. You know, how do we help
Right.
them? How can we do something to help people in that sort of space? Have you any?
Well, what we're trying to do is to help them feel like they're not alone. So our goal, it's called Garretts Space, is to have a place where young people can come together and realize other people are struggling similarly and that there isn't something wrong with them. And then we're also teaching them how to normalize things like relationship breakups, which can feel like a death sometimes. And how do you get through that, right? How do you get through that? And how do you, it might feel like nobody's ever experienced this kind of pain from something like this before. Of course they have. And I think it's a really hard world, and we're trying to teach them coping mechanisms, meditation, yoga, to get support from peers as well as professionals,
Mhm, mhm.
and then just give them lots of wraparound supports and connect them with other young adults who are, as I said, similarly struggling. We're already starting programming right now virtually. I had started a year ago, of young adults meeting together with a peer support, someone who leads the discussion as well as a clinical social worker, and they are just really responding and feeling
Yeah.
like, wow, I felt so isolated, and they brainstormed on a great playlist to get them through the holidays. Things they can say or do for themselves during the holidays, which is a tough time. They did this on their own. They did this together, right? So it's the idea of building a community, because I think social media is supposed to build community, but I think it's very toxic, and
Yes, yes, yes.
it makes young adults feel they're inadequate. They can't measure up to what other people are posting, right? So if you see somebody in person and you have these authentic conversations with them, I believe that, I'm sure we had instances of depression and suicide generations ago, but I think a lot of it is just people feel like they're not enough and
Yeah,
they don't have
yeah.
enough of a community to turn to.
But it's once you've caught them, you can do all these things with them and introduce them. How do you catch their attention to join in? It's that little, the fish, the hook, the worm,
Right,
how do you bite to get them in, because they're there. All those things you
right.
mentioned, they're feeling
Well, I mean,
inadequate.
you won't catch everybody, but if you make it a place where the people leading the program are, warm and welcoming, which ours are, we're going to also develop eventually a residential center that we want to be a beautiful, warm, welcoming, open space with lots of activity areas and gardens and walking paths, and a place that a young adult would want to go, a place our son would have wanted to go. So I think it's the way it's designed, the people you hire, the
Mhm.
messaging. We reach out a lot on social media actually to our young adults, because that's where they
Mhm.
live. And our initiatives in the early stages, but I think it's quite promising. I think that we are approaching things in a way that hasn't been approached so far. So we'll
That's
see. Time will
fantastic.
tell. But I think we have the right idea about how to help them.
Yeah, and actually, a colleague I spoke to there down in the southwest of Ireland, they were in their location of Ennis. They were rebuilding a community centre for the exact same purpose, to create a centre where people can come and go, they can connect, they can have events, they can do things, to have that physical connection, because during COVID there was a lot of isolation.
Right.
Um, so all those things done here, there, on a community level, starting, it's fantastic, because it all generates something that ultimately is going to benefit and help somebody else. So it's
Sure.
great stories, great to hear.
Yeah. Thank you.
So that helps me understand how you devote your time, energy, and money into things, Julie. So I don't need to ask you that.
Well, when you experience a loss like this, you often think to yourself, why, how can I go on? And of course I go on because of my husband and my two daughters, but we do feel like this helps to give our lives purpose and a reason for being here. It's, if we can
Yeah.
save other people's lives, then it does help to move forward, to move
Yeah.
on, not move on, move forward, I would say.
And ultimately, there are other incidences, and by you creating what you're creating, it's going to help others get through those challenges and those pains and those hurts, to be able to reach and talk to someone else who's went through it. So there's an element of comfort within that. And for, you know, we mentioned earlier on about, you know, being present in the moment and not worried about the things in the future or worried about something that happened. To sort of compensate against that, would there be things, Julie, that you would do to seek comfort, to seek solace, you do to relax, that bring you down into the now?
Sure, sure. Well, I exercise every day, and that is just a savior to me. That's my medicine. That's my therapy. I mean, I do yoga, I swim, you know, we have an elliptical bike, and I do exercise classes. So that's a key thing. I like being outside, you know, going for walks in nature.
Mm-hmm.
I like getting together with close friends and sitting outside and having a lovely dinner on a warm summer's night.
Yeah.
We don't get many of those great nights in Michigan, but yeah, I
You
like
take
being
them
with.
when you can get them.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, I would say those are the, you know, friends are my, you know, oxygen, and my husband, and, you know, being with him and being with our girls. I would say those are the things that really allow me to, uh, you know,
Yeah,
be
there's
distracted.
a lot of the time there's the simple things. We tend to overcomplicate. Oh, we do this and do that, but it's the simple things. And one key running theme when speak to a lot of people, exercise is a very important thing.
Hmm.
For us and for our minds and our physical well-being. So that's certainly a key thing. I I wouldn't say I'm the max into exercise, but I do like to go for walks, and I do in the past there have been plenty of sport, but at the minute I'm doing disc golf. I don't know if in America there's plenty of disc golf, but here in Italy there's not much of it. I'm trying to help promote it. But ultimately, you're going for a big, long walk in a park for about 3 hours.
Wow.
It's good exercise as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's and I love the you know, connecting with friends and family. And where I lived in Ireland up until September 2019, and then we moved to the north of Italy. And
Oh, that's where you're okay.
and that's one thing that I love, is that here where we live, you know, the four seasons are coming. You just know
Hmm.
the four seasons are there, and you know, right, it's May. It's getting warmer. We'll be able to sit outside and invite people to have a barbecue and just sit there in the nice evening. So when you mentioned that, it just triggered a lot of nice thoughts and plans in the
Right.
forthcoming
Yeah.
season. So you can't
Something
beat
to
it.
look forward to.
And just chatting and sharing time with family and people coming and going, our friends. So one thing I do is I encourage my family to say, you should come and visit me. And they say, oh, when are you coming back? I said, I don't want to go back in the sense, I'd love to go and visit you, but why don't you come and visit me and we can share different experiences here? Because if I go back,
Right.
I just come back to the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's that's the thing. But the I don't want to take up too much of your time, Julie. I've booked you in there for half an hour, but some of those things, there's a lot there we've discussed about, and there's a lot there if people listen back that are very key things and very pertinent to lifestyles today and to what's happening in the world today. And one thing I do want to try and find out better is, how can I reach out to people who maybe are struggling or are depressed or mental health. The word mental health in construction would sound, it's the bad word, you know, what, you've
Sure.
mental problems. No, I don't have mental problems, but I experienced this and this. But unfortunately, this and this is classified as mental health. So and
Right.
you
Right.
can use different words.
Right.
And I do want to help people, but simple things I find are small steps towards creating that change. You mentioned exercise. You mentioned spending quality time with friends and family. Um, all those things help us. They just help us in our lives, and they help us to bring happiness, various states of happiness within our lives and within our workplace or whatever it is we do. And they're the important things that we need to find time to do, so that you know, life is full of struggles and pains and
Sure.
roller coaster. I've had highs and lows and struggles, but it's having that confidence to keep going, to not give in, and to talk, to open up, to reach out, to do things out of your comfort zone, to, when we're feeling down, to, you know, to ask for help. and there are people
Sure.
there to help us, and that's what I've found. And I've really appreciated the people in my life who, when I have felt low, I have asked for help, and there's been someone there to help. And that's the key, that someone is willing to listen somewhere. So if we can be those people, at some point we're going to no doubt help others. And as I said,
Definitely.
those others can help others, and we can spread the word.
Exactly.
in
Yeah. I
mul-
think there's
in
a
mul-
greater awareness of people's struggles, and that people are more willing to talk about it, and other people are more willing to reach out than used to be the case. So hopefully that means that there's less stigma about saying you're struggling, and people are more willing to seek help, which is all good.
yeah,
And
and as you
hopefully
said,
yeah.
yeah. Sorry, continue.
No, I was just saying then, when you said, oh, what should I do to reach, if I think someone's struggling? I mean, I think people are open now. If you say, you seem like you're having a hard time, do you want to talk, or can I be there for you? Or how can I help?
But
Those
it's
are
it's
pretty
asking
straightforward
that
things.
little question. It's that little, and then being a listener. That's probably a good trigger, and pausing to give them an opportunity to decide if they want to actually tell you.
Sure, right. Definitely.
Because if we
Yes,
say how you
that's true.
doing, and then we keep going, then they don't get a chance to respond.
Right.
Suppose when I was taught there in Toastmasters, if you want to be a good speaker, learn to listen.
Right. Exactly. Well said.
So I've really appreciated talking to you, Julie, and it's fantastic to hear the things that you're doing. And I believe the service you're giving to others and giving back to society. And I would certainly encourage us all to think on those things. How can we help others? Recently, my wife here, she started going to a homeless center. She helps the homeless every Monday, and she's discovered that even though they go and they give out food and they help people at doctor's visits, or they issue clothes, one of the main things she feels that um, is just listening to them, because people turn up just to have a conversation. So if she
Yeah.
listens to them, it gives them just an opportunity to, okay, yes, they're getting some of the essentials, but they just sometimes want someone to talk to.
Sure.
And well, my wife's a great talker, but she'll they just I was there on Monday because I had a day off yesterday. I went with her, and you get to see they all wanted to talk to her, just to have a conversation, not to say, oh,
Sure.
give me more clothes or give me more of this, just to have someone to listen. Because sometimes some of the other volunteers, we can be too caught up in, oh, hey, no, stand back, stop pushing, give me your ticket. Oh, you're taking too many of this, you're taking too many of that. That's just the logistics of it. But the reality is you're creating an opportunity for people who are homeless or struggling to come to have a moment of calm and peace together, have a coffee, a biscuit, and talk. And with something I was asking, how do we do certain things? The fact that we have the virtual world that we're able to work within now, that in itself can bring opportunities for others to connect and to reach out in different ways.
Sure. Definitely.
Because before it's like, oh, what local help center is there? And then try to go to that. Whereas now, within a click, you can immediately connect with somebody. And all of a sudden, you're like, wow, there's someone who can help me.
Yes.
So
Definitely.
there's things we can say are negative about the internet. There's things we can say are positive. It's like
That's
everything.
true.
There's
Yeah.
two
Pros and
different ways.
cons for sure. Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
So I would love to. I would just want to thank you so much, Julie, for your
Oh,
time,
yeah.
and I really appreciate
Sure.
your time.
Happy to be here.
And I look forward to learning more of your stories that you've spoken about, and some of those inspiring ones. I might pick up on some of them to inspire me to keep going and what I'm doing of the stories that you've shared. So
Great.
from me in Italy, ciao for now.
Ciao.